Welcome everybody on your first day at the OCA Plugfest, or maybe on your second day. Thanks for showing up in these big numbers. So we've been organizing Plugfest for many years, and every year we try to find the best possible format to accommodate everybody. So this year we thought sometimes we get the feedback from people who are testing that they don't have an opportunity to follow all the additional side program presentations. So that's why this year is the first time where we just dedicate one test slot to give you all the updates from the OCA. So I hope you will forgive us. Maybe you want to get on with testing, and but we hope that you find this enjoyable. And of course, when we are finished here, then of course the testing will resume. And for the observers or people who attended the face-to-face meetings in Châtelet, there will be more in-depth updates after this session. So welcome, my name is Lonneke Driesen. I'm the director of the Open Charge Alliance. And I'd like to ask to the stage for the first update, Onuf Caron. He's the chairman of the OCA board. Yes, please come on stage, and he will give you an update on the board elections and of our new code of respect.
Thank you. My name is Onuf Caron. I'm not sure, yeah, I'm on the board, chairman of the board. Maybe it's good to give you a little update on what's happening on a board level. Of course, it's the least important organization, part of the organization, because the real work, core, I think. But anyway, yeah. So we've been doing a lot of work at the board, and also since the organization is growing and becoming more professional, we thought it would also be good to organize ourselves. So we have as of a few months, we have a board pledge. So all the board members have to pledge that they adhere to the standards of the Open Charge Alliance. We also have an antitrust policy, so each meeting of the board starts with an antitrust declaration. And since a lot of our organization, a lot of the people in the organization work together, I think it's more than appropriate that we should also have some kind of code of respect, and that's how we called it. This code of respect will be part of the policies and procedures, which will be given to everyone who becomes a member, but will also be available on the website, of course. And well, there are issues mentioned there like collaboration and openness, inclusivity, integrity and responsibility, respect and professionalization. Well, a lot of things which are very normal to most people, but it's never. It's always a good moment to reflect on those if necessary. So that's one of the things, or the three things that we've done. Apart from that, we have, I don't know if there's a slide with the dates of the, let's see, yeah. That so, as we know, we have a change. We have an annual board election, and this year we have one again. As you can see, the application, the nomination is open at the moment for organizations to come up with candidates. Then there will be a review of the candidates, are they in good faith, etc., etc. And then, of course, there will be voting. And the voting starts on October the 28th for 2 weeks, yes. And then, of course, we have a winner. We will ask a notary, because we do it all very official. We will ask a notary, as we have done so in the recent years, to review the way we did and come up with a declaration for that process. And then we'll have the new member. And it, of course, it can be a new member, and it can also be a re-election of somebody who is already a member on the board. I guess, there's more. Oh yeah, the code of respect, yeah, I talked about that. So, yeah, I'm not going to read out everything that's there, but I think it's a good thing to know how we like to work together. I think having seen the work done so far these days, you all apply to these or adhere to these code of respect, but it's something we add to the policies and procedures. Lonneke, it's okay.
Thank you, Ono, for sharing that. So next I'd like to ask on stage Cor Milker. He is also one of our board members, but he is also the Open Charge Alliance IEC liaison. And a lot of other things. So Cor, we have two updates that hopefully you can share.
I sure will, if you see the slides. Yeah, two things I have to announce. One important thing is from a couple of weeks ago, I think, is that OCPP 2.1, our latest version that's been published, is been approved and recognized by the world as an IEC protocol. So it's now been available as IEC 63584-210. It's a mouthful with all those numbers. If you're working in IEC, you know they're all about numbers. Especially those engineers here probably know they're testing all kinds of protocols with those numbers. This is when you put it in a picture somewhere when you're discussing architecture, you just put in 63584 and then it's written down there, and then everybody asks, but I'm missing OCPP. I said, no, it's in there. So we have to get used to that number. That's an AKA for OCPP. And we're very happy that it's been announced. I think it was with big figures. We got 92% of the yes votes in worldwide and 100% in Europe. So it's fully supported. And I think that's really, really keen. And now we're having to do the next steps, get it implemented, get it all done, get it certifiable and everything else. So there's still a lot of things to do. But at least we have now an IEC number, which is worldly recognized. And there's the standard for charger configuration and management. Next. I think also another thing is to announce is we're doing a lot of things in Europe. Festivals like this of the Plugfest. And also face-to-face meetings. We had one the last 1.5 days upstairs. There's also a nice announcement to make that we will have our member meeting for North America. So if you have colleagues or partners where you work together with that are located in North America, they can join now over in Toronto, where we will have a member meeting. We're at the location of Charge Lab. And it's not only OCPP, the Open Charge Alliance, but it's a joint effort together with EV roaming. Because we're trying to get active more and more in those areas. And we're now looking at getting the members together to get challenges information over to both domains on the protocols OCPP and OCPI. So they work very closely together. And yeah, like me, I'm board member on both organizations. So trying to get those two together. Doing the charger management and the whole roaming. So that will be on November 18 and 19. It's in Toronto, so it's not in the US. So we'll probably give some less problems with visas and that kind of shit that's happening currently in the US. It's always, I'm working for a US company, but it's always a surprise. How quickly do I go to customs and enter the country? It's always a surprise. But that's why it's now organized in Canada that has better regulations for that and assist. So I hope to invite you, or at least your North American colleagues or partners, to join us there. Thank you.
Thanks. So at the end we'll have a session for Q&A, so any questions that you may have still, we can answer then. Next I'd like to ask Paul Klapwijk. Paul Klapwijk is our chair of the Compliance Working Group, and he also has a few updates to share with you.
Thank you. Hi everybody. Thank you. Yes, so as mentioned, I'm the chair of the Compliance Working Group, and within the certification program we make heavy use of the test tool, the OCT, probably familiar with many of you. And that's why we have to have a request for everybody. So we are developing, of course, now on the newest version for OCPP 2.1, but also still working on OCPP 1.6 and also on 2.0.1. And of course, every time we do something, we want to test it and test it and test it, so we bring out the best version for you. And for that, we need systems to test with. So we actually have a request for everybody. We were searching for companies that want to provide an implementation to us for testing. So we have called this an OCPP Golden System Under Test, a Golden SIT. And this is actually an implementation of both charging station or CSMS, which you want to use for validation of the OCTT and also the OCPP test cases. So we're asking you for help. So what's in it for you? Of course, it's not the first thing is that you will be mentioned as a golden SUT, which I think is a big honor, of course. But also we have some additional benefits for those of you that have seen the email. For example, it means free access to the OCTT as long as you are a OCTT golden SUT. For the 2.0.1, we also have free membership, and for 2.1, we also have, as soon as it's available, a free test set and a free certification run. So I think there's benefits for you, but also, of course, the great honor of being a golden SUT, which you can, I think, also give to your customers, showing that you're not only here at Plugfest, but you're actually also actively helping the test tool for OCA. So if you want to register, my colleague Rens in the back can help you. There's an application form, it was already sent around. But for those of you that missed it, please ask Rens and he can help you with everything. So that's the first one. Now we're on the certification program. I think also good to mention to everybody, we have an update to the OCPP 1.6 certification program as of today. So it's October 1st. The certificate is simplified and also has a new logo. So for those of you familiar with the certification program, we have opened it in 2019. And back then we introduced it with these three types of certificates. We had a full subset and security certificate, which security was then an addition to either a full or a subset. And what you can see here, there's one mandatory part, the core, and we had a number of optional certification profiles. So this is how we already started. And now that we're looking at the future, also at how 2.0.1, we learned from what we did back then, and also looking forward to 2.1. So we made some simplifications. So this is the old logo. This is the new logo, so it looks a bit similar to the 2.0.1 logo. You can see now in the logo itself which additional profiles are there. And what we also did, we simplified the profiles as well. What I think is very important to mention is that the core profile has been extended, specifically for charging stations. It now also includes firmware management and security. So security profile 2 is now mandatory, same as secure firmware updates. So for everybody that has this new logo, you can be sure it's not only certified for the mandatory core functionality that from the past, but now also includes security by default. And some of the profiles that are less often asked are now moved to optional features. So you will see that reservations, for example, is not part of this logo, but is now an optional feature. So you can still certify it, it can still be visible on your certificate, but if you look at the logo, it's simplified. So you only have either the core certificate in your logo, you can have the advanced security, which basically means security profile 3 with client certificates, and the smart charging. So yeah, that's I think the most important update here. And then also, again, OCPP 2.1, again also looking towards the future. We currently have a version out, which was presented in January, where we published OCPP 2.1 parts 0 to 4, which is basically the specification. But the thing that is still missing is part 5 and 6. So we are working hard on it, and we want to publish this in November as a second edition, so the edition 2. So as mentioned, it was published in January. The part 5 and 6 were not ready. However, it has been, as Cor just mentioned, accepted as a IEC 63584-210 semicolon 2025. So sorry, it's a mouthful. But in November, we want to release the second OCPP edition for this. And then we, of course, will include all the errata we already know about. Currently, we have separate errata sheets. We will include it in one document so that you can just read through it. But also, we want to include part 5 and 6. So we're already heavily working on reviewing everything. 2.1 is already being built as well, the stuff that's been reviewed. And yeah, hopefully then we will, of course, have this accepted in 2026. So that's it from our side. And I think the next update will be also from my side. That is one about the security task group. That's one of the task groups I'm also involved in. We recently started a security task group, as mentioned, the topic of security. And what we've done here, we've looked into what's relevant. So that is, of course, looking at the current OCPP specification and preparing for the future, but also advising people how to make a secure OCPP implementation. So a little bit beyond OCPP itself. So for that reason, we're looking into a lot of topics that are need to be addressed. Some of those will be incorporated in future OCPP versions. Some of these will be like advice, which will be out of scope of the OCPP specification itself. So for this, we will want to publish a separate security operations guide, as we've called it now. And basically, this is something that provides an overview of the requirements that are already in the specification, recommendations that are in the specification, but it also defines things that are recommended to do a secure implementation beyond OCPP. And of course, it will look at the future, and all future updates that might be in the next versions of OCPP will already be presented, so that you can already prepare for those updates. And of course, the reason for this is that, of course, at this point, OCPP is secure, no worries. But of course, we want to make sure that in 10 years or 15 years, when quantum computing comes in, we want to make sure that we are ahead of time, and that before that time, we have made sure that OCPP is resilient for everything that's coming towards us. And I think that was my last update. So the next one is, I think I have to give the floor back to you.
Thank you, Paul. So the next update is about AFIR and OCPP. I think most of you will know AFIR, which is the European regulation for alternative fuels infrastructure. And this is European law, so every country in Europe is obliged to follow AFIR. And AFIR was published in 2023. And basically it contains regulation regarding charging infrastructure, also hydrogen, so that it's broader than just electric vehicle charging. And for instance, it states that every nation in Europe needs to install charging infrastructure along highways, that you need to be able to pay with your regular payment systems. All sorts of things are included. And there is also a delegated regulation which goes into more detail about specific technical requirements. So up until today, the AFIR or the delegated regulation does not mention anything with regards to the communication between a charging station and a backend. So it doesn't mention anything with relation to OCPP at all. It does, for instance, mention that every charging station as of January of 2027 must implement ISO 15118-20, for instance. But for OCPP, nothing is included yet. And we know that the European Commission considers also including backend communication as a requirement in the regulation. So we are discussing with them if they want to include OCPP into AFIR, when, which versions, and will they also mandate certification and all sorts. So we have written the analysis down in a paper which is called OCPP support within AFIR. And it's available currently on the Causeway platform. So if you are an OCA member, you can go to the Causeway platform and you can find it. We will also, in a couple of weeks, circulate it more broadly so you can read through this paper. But just to summarize, if you look at the requirements in AFIR that has some relation to charging stations, there are basically 4 parts that influence us. So the first requirement is in AFIR itself that charging stations with a power level of more than 50 kilowatts need to have included payment terminals, and public charging infrastructure below 50 kilowatts needs to have a QR code option to pay. And of course, if you look at, do we support this in OCPP messages? If you look at all the versions that are out there, 1.6, 2.01 and 2.1, OCPP does support payment terminals and dynamic QR codes in the 2.1 version. So if you would like to do that in a standardized way, then 2.1 is the version that you should use. A second requirement, which is in AFIR, is that you need to provide the pricing information to your end users. Of course, you don't have to do that through the charging station. You could also do that maybe via an app or other means. If you want to do that through a charging station, so if you want to send the pricing information to the charger itself, then OCPP 2.01 and 2.1 both support it. The third requirement is smart charging. Every charging station in Europe needs to be able to do smart charging. And there you see that also in 1.6 we can do smart charging. So OCPP 1.6 in that respect would be sufficient for AFIR regulation. And then lastly, of course, in the delegated regulation, it is specified that chargers as of January 2027 need to have ISO-20, and that is supported by OCPP 2.1. So it depends a little bit on how far the European Commission wants to mandate standardization in these fields. And depending on their decision, we don't know, they could either mandate 2.01 or 2.1. We also don't know when they will announce a mandate, and we also do not know what the implementation date will be. Will that be January 27, January 28, or 2030? So we have no information about that. We are in discussion with the European Commission to see what they want to do and how we can assist them. What is important to note is that in Europe you can only by law require IEC standards or ISO standards or ITU standards. So by that default, OCPP 1.6 is not an IEC standard, so it cannot be included in European regulation. And of course that would totally make no sense because 1.6 is published in 2015, so it's 10 years old. So of course, if Europe were to mandate something that's 12 years old, by the time we get to 2027, of course, it doesn't make sense. So we assume that the European Commission is looking at either 2.01 or 2.1, and we'll know more in the next few weeks what direction they want to take. Okay. Then another announcement, Pwn to Own. Maybe some of you are familiar with this event. It is a hacking competition which is organized every year in several locations. There is also an edition called Pwn to Own Automotive. And what they do is they have a contest where they invite hackers to hack vehicles mainly, but also since 2 years charging stations. So this organization works together with several charging station manufacturers who provide their charging stations freely and willingly, and then hackers get to hack them, and if they find a vulnerability, they win a prize. And there's actually some substantial prize money involved. So what the Open Charge Alliance is doing this year, this event will be in January in Tokyo. So we will be there as OCA. We invite everybody, if you want to, also to join and let the hackers loose on your charging station or your backend. And then they will find your vulnerabilities, help you make your implementation more resilient. And the Open Charge Alliance will also be there. We have a testing tool that maybe you know. And so we are going to join with our testing tool, and we're going to release the hackers on OCTT and then see if we need to fix some vulnerabilities that they may find. So very exciting. Of course, you can watch it from the sideline. It would be even better if you would be brave enough to join with your charging station. You can only learn from what they find. So the next few updates are for our technical editor, Frank. He's working on a lot of white papers, and he's going to give you updates on some of them.
Yeah, thank you. So I've, basically some 2 short slides to explain here. I've been writing several white papers lately, and 2 white papers that we are about to publish is a white paper on the M-Pesa payment methods and the UPI payment methods. M-Pesa is a form of mobile payments that's in use in Africa, Kenya and Tanzania mostly. That uses like a text-based interface, so you can use it on really simple phones, but you can also use it on smartphones. And we explain in this white paper how you can use that payment form to pay for EV charging, for example. And the other payment form is UPI, which is from India. And it's a slightly different mechanism, whereas M-Pesa is based on wallets that you have on your mobile phone. So you pay from your wallet to the wallet of another person. With M-Pesa, you pay from bank account to bank account. But it does also support wallets if you need to. Both forms of payments are kind of prepaid payments. So you say, okay, I want to charge for so many rupees, for example. And then depending on the system, if you do not charge everything, you get a refund or not. That's up to the operator to decide if he wants to implement that. So that's explained in a white paper. And then the next one is a larger white paper that describes migration of charging stations. Because we see that the whole concept of the need to migrate charging stations is becoming a more and more common occurrence in the industry, because you have mergers or takeovers or operators going out of business or charging station vendors going out of business. So sometimes they might have migrated to a new network. In this paper, we try to explain what do you have to do if you migrate a large number of chargers from one CSMS to another CSMS. And we provide some guidelines what to think of. And in addition, we are collecting some case studies from existing migrations. One of that was from ElaadNL, where we are now, who did the migration in the past. Another one is from EV Connect in the US. And the third one is from Greenflux in the Netherlands. So this case study also shows a bit what can happen in practice if you do these kind of large migrations. This afternoon, I think from 3 o'clock onwards, I'll have a more in-depth presentation on that white paper in that room over there. And I also have a brief explanation of the M-Pesa and the UPI payment methods. And I think this finishes my contribution for this plenary update. And I would like to encourage everybody to join OCA, because we need your industry experience. You might have needs for OCPI in the future, or you might have a need for a white paper that explains how to do certain things. So we'll be happy to contribute to that. And so, please join our task groups if you want to participate in one of the subjects that we are working on. One more thing, I also have an update on the task group about local controllers and networking that we're currently working on. So if you're interested to know what that task group is doing, also please come upstairs this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we have some time for some questions. We have a microphone at the back of the room. So is there anybody who has a question for any of the presenters? Please feel free to ask. We have one.
Question about the revised OCP 1.6 certification. Good to see that that's being refreshed. Can I ask why unlock connector was not made optional too? This is particularly an issue for DC-only CPOs.
It's a good question. I'm not 100% sure whether it's, I think we actually included some conditions in it for based on AC or DC. So what I would do is I would check in the latest pics, which you can download since yesterday evening, and fill it in for yourself. And if it's correct, then you should get an, you should not be having to execute that test case. So I expect that it's fixed now.
Thank you.
Good question, thanks. Any other questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, then I'd like to, oh, too fast. Okay, let's ask Kevin on stage to, for the final two announcements.
Yes. Thank you. So, as was announced yesterday, we had a nice little social media challenge running throughout these 2 days. And yeah, I think the results are really good. There are really a lot of nice posts made by you via LinkedIn. So we have some examples here showing that we have arrived. On the right, you see some team testing really hard. So that's all great to see. We even have a nice meme here showing the struggle of debugging your implementation. So yeah, overall, really nice pictures. But of course, there can only be one winner. So that is Current, showing us what it's like. I think, yeah, the image speaks for itself. So I would like to ask the guys up front, because we have a nice, nice present for you. And did you have prepared a speech for your victory? No one you would like to thank?
I would like to thank the OCA for being here, and my team also for being here, and Victor for taking the picture.
What we have for you is a typical, it's a Dutch brand actually. It's a nice package for you to enjoy. Thank you. For you. Who of you can solve a Rubik's Cube? Show me some hands. I see one. Yeah? Any others? More challengers? No? Then I would like to ask you up the stage. Okay, I think we all have seen that it's quite a challenge, but good news. Every one of you can take on this challenge. So for those of you who would like to do so, we have a Rubik's Cube. You can pick one up at the information desk from Carlijn. She's waving. Please make sure to bring your badge, because we only have one for everyone, so we will check off who've got it. Yeah, you can take on the challenge yourself. So that's it.